Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 306 at scavengerlife.com.
Okay, here we are. We gotta go. We gotta
go.
Make this happen.
Come on.
We have to make this a little bit briefer than normal because I have to drive into a city to look at and probably purchase 650 square feet of hardwood pine flooring for $250.
Yeah, this has to happen.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I've got to search out on Craigslist, and anytime I get a good deal like that, I'm the first one that jumps on it. And it's a drive, but we need this flooring. Yeah, I was thinking we might have to spend about $2,500 for flooring from like a traditional person that sells it.
So let's spend 10 times less.
Yeah,
shall we?
So we'll see. But the thing about Craigslist is they put up a couple pictures, that's it.
No measurements. They think they have this much. They think it's in good shape.
I talked to him on the phone. He's like, yeah, everything's fine. But, is it really hardwood pine? Is it just like white pine that was bought at, lumber liquidators a couple years ago?
Yeah, it's tough.
But as a scavenger,
you got to take that chance.
I got to take that
for
chance.
that price.
Yeah, and it's so cheap. It's like 30 cents a square foot. I could just get it and sell it,
I mean, that's look, it's a lot of time. You're going to drive, it's an hour and a half. You're going to pick it up, load it up one way. Yeah. And you got to drive home. It's all day. That's why we were like, oh, we got to do the podcast quick.
But we have a big back porch, and it's this will be the third pile of wood on there of other times I've done this, and none of this wood really kind of fits, and so
we use some of it. We use some of it already. It's just it's one of those things where it's like you can spend $5,000 and get the most beautiful whatever, or you can like piecemeal it. And
as a scavenger, it's so hard to pay retail prices
because that's retail.
Because we all know that if you take the time and do things like drive 3 hours, you're able to get such tremendous deals, sometimes for things that are better than if you were just to buy a retail from some corporate headquarters.
And you can use the leftover money to pay for installation and sanding. And it's tough.
And then the last thing is, it is a bit of an adventure. Like when he called me and we were like, all right, I'll be there, it kind of kicks in like the excitement of, it's what's going to happen. Okay. Yeah. That being said, I want to mention one more thing before we get started.
Right.
On our website at scavengerlife.com, Ryan put a little thing on the sidebar.
Right. It says Patreon. So what Patreon is, it's a way for people to become patrons of us through a monthly subscription. Basically a monthly subscription tip jar. So if you want to pledge $1 every month to help us out, or $5 or $10, etc., you can just click on the little Patreon link and go through.
Basically, people have asked us before, like, is there a way I can subscribe to you?
Like subscribe to the tip jar.
Right, like subscribe to the tip jar, and this would be the way to do it. And you sign up, it's yourself, and it's between you and this company, Patreon, and then if you want to cancel at any time, you can. Obviously,
you don't have to do it at all.
You don't have to, but it's there.
Our content is totally free all the time.
Yeah, period. But it just helps us pay for the server and
the upkeep of the forum, all that stuff.
And a bit of money's nice to help us pay our phone bill and
our internet bill.
Yep. Okay, so Ryan was gone most of this week. Visiting her sister, helping her sister convert a bedroom to an Airbnb.
Yes. Now look, I was not on vacation. I'll make that very clear. I am super tired now.
You're doing our kind of vacation, right?
It's so funny because I was up there, I was up in Boston, and my sister was moving to the top floor and converting this back bedroom into an Airbnb room. But the apartment needed to be painted, fully painted, new appliances, all this stuff, right? So it's funny you mentioned Craigslist because I've been trolling Craigslist for a couple weeks for my sister because she's super busy with her job.
Like for a refrigerator?
I found her a fridge. I found her a vintage sink, like a sink cabinet unit that's all steel. It's called the Beauty Queen. And so she picked that up. She picked up this gorgeous refrigerator for a fraction of the price, brand new apartment size refrigerator. So it was really fun that I was able to do that from where I live, and I would connect her with, like, I'd start talking to the people and I'd be like, great, I'm gonna set you up with my sister to figure out a time to pick stuff up. So it was awesome. It was actually really fun. So we painted this whole bedroom, and I'm so tired. And then I painted all these light fixtures. We got all these new lights, these new outlet covers. We mopped and swept the whole place. That's honestly my kind of vacation where it's project based, where I'm like, let's do this thing instead of let's just hang out and go out to eat and spend all this money. I'm like, no.
That's right.
So to me, it was way more fun.
Yep.
I saw my mom and my dad because they both live in the Boston area. So it was like a quick family visit project thing. So
yep.
It was fun. I'm exhausted though.
And then it was me and the cats at home. And when I'm home alone, I really do start to appreciate the house that we've kind of created, and not just a house, but our little home.
Our little life.
We live in a very modest, small home.
Yeah.
If
it's 1,000 square feet, I'd be surprised.
And we have it where there's actually not a single door in our house.
We can't shut a door.
We kind of opened up the whole house, so it's more kind of like
a loft,
townhouse,
condo.
Loft, yeah. But it's great though. All the rooms flowing to each other, and it's just really nice. It's really comfortable.
Yeah,
it was great. What I did the couple days that you were gone was I went to a flea market.
Yes, you were very excited about that.
So last week we talked about auctions and how we love auctions and our different strategies. And then flea markets are probably, you can't really compare them because they're different from an auction. But they're also one of my favorite things to do.
Especially on a beautiful spring day.
If you're less interested in flea markets, is that true?
No, I don't think that's true. I think...
I have more of an addiction, and you're more
I can take it or leave it. No, but I found I think you're better. I think you're better at just getting people's attention and being like, "Hey, how much is this?" Because people are very nonchalant.
Well, let's talk about this in a bit. So, with flea markets, versus an auction, it's more of a mellow experience. It's like you're going for a walk in the park, and the kind of flea markets I'm talking about aren't antique malls, the places where people permanently rent storage booths, and it's more like an antique store.
Right.
These are, I guess, in England they would call a car boot sale.
Car boot sale,
where they're just a big open field or a big open parking lot, and people rent a space for the day.
Like a table.
Pay $15. They pull up their car or van, or some guys bring big trucks.
Yeah.
And then they just lay stuff out on sheets on the ground, or they put tables out, So, and everything is done that day. So it's a whole thing. And we have half an hour from where we live.
Yeah.
And they happen
they're big.
Right. And they happen every, it's weekend. And I always say, they're kind of like Mad Max to me, because it's really
every man for himself.
And it really is a beautiful example of true small C capitalism.
Right.
Where it's a real free market where it's just everyone's cash and
everyone's doing deals.
Right. And the reason why I love it is because, I can just leisurely kind of stroll around, and, I have time to look at everything. Yeah. And, unlike an auction where there's competition and it's the intense. Stress of
there's a timeline. Right. It's just boom, 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 boom.
These are the three kinds of people I see at a flea market.
Yeah.
Number one, and these are creeping into flea markets as more and more. It's a bad thing in my opinion, or it's not interesting to me. People selling new cheap junk.
Yes.
It's people who are extreme couponers, I guess, and they go and and they buy a bunch of mouthwash and toothpaste and shampoo, air freshener and
for free. Basically, they
soda.
get it for free.
That's what I'm imagining. And then they come to the flea market and they sell it, maybe half of what you'd buy at the store.
Right. Which is great if you want that kind of thing. But I'm not there for that.
Plus, their deals really aren't that good. I don't even think it's half price. I think it's even a little bit, it's more than that.
It's 75%.
Or it's guys who, maybe they're doing retail arbitrage or something, or they're doing wholesaling. But, they're selling socks and iPhone cases cheap tools.
Like liquidation closeouts. They're like getting that stuff
Right.
and coming to the flea market.
Right. I just like totally skip those people. Okay.
Yeah.
Then there are people that actually treat these flea markets like they're antiques.
Antique
malls or whatever, where they're like dealers, and they come and they often have like a truck, and they actually present their 10 by 10 square foot space on the ground.
They literally have, some of them have glass cases.
Right.
You're like, oh, the glass case, it's following me.
And they're selling, and everything's very precious and it's very nice, but they know it's what it's worth. I guess if you're a collector, it might be a little bit cheaper to buy from them than to buy online. But
if you want that stuff for yourself,
normally I can walk up and just tell by how they've presented themselves that I'm not interested.
Right.
Or I might come up, I see one thing cool, and I'll ask how much. They're like, oh, that's $120.
You're like, bye.
I walk away. Although I will say, sometimes I learn a lot from these people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I have no idea what this thing is. Tell me. And they know all about it.
They know everything. They want to talk about it.
Right. And so that's a one good thing about those people. And that's why also I like flea markets, because I learn a lot.
Yeah.
Like, it gives me a chance to
ask
see
those
things.
people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But the people I love are the junkers.
Yep.
Okay. And these are actually people that either have just gone to an auction, like we talked about, at last week, and they bought whole truckload of stuff.
Tables
from this
and
auction.
tables and tables.
Right. They were the ones who bought the $5 tables that nobody was interested in.
Right. And now they're selling it.
And then they come, and these people are great because they're like, I don't know what any of this stuff is.
I don't care.
I just want you to buy it. Everything's super cheap.
Yeah.
And I need to move this stuff today.
Right. I'm not packing it back in my truck.
Those are the people I love.
Yes.
The messier, the better.
They're the best people to buy from for us.
And it's just like a thrift store. Most customers don't really like to dig. And I love to dig. So they'll just have boxes of stuff. Like, they haven't even poured it out.
That's a true scavenger way, is if you're willing to dig through the junk, thinking there might be, because most people look at it, oh, that's a box of junk. And I do that too sometimes. I'm like, oh, I just don't feel like it.
Right.
I need some gloves, But if you're willing to dig, you will find treasure. You will.
Yep. And, or they'll have blankets out and they kind of just spread it all out.
Piles.
It's not organized in any way, and they'll even put this is the $1 blanket and this is the $3 blanket. And these people are great too because they're great about deals. So I'm making a pile of stuff, and then I'll be like, how much for this? And then he'll throw me a price.
Right.
So those are the people I really love, and they are in abundance at the flea markets I go to. And really, I've said it before, I think we have more in common with them.
Yes.
Except we're just doing it all online.
Right.
Right.
With much higher prices.
Right.
Obviously.
I mean, it's just kind of because all of us probably hearing this, we've been willing to learn how to use the internet, and we have bank accounts. I mean, sometimes these are guys that look like, they're just like, I'm just trying to get some gas money and money for food till next Saturday, I
mean, that is the case a lot of times.
And in some ways, it's a very simple lifestyle, and
sure.
It's just choices people make, but, that's the level we're at. And so it's kind of that ecology, as we've talked about, they've gone and bought this stuff at an auction. They sell to us. We mark the price up, sell to someone online.
Right.
So I had a great day.
Did you go to both flea markets?
I went to both of them.
Of course he did.
Yeah, it was it was really nice.
Beautiful day out.
Spring day. I think Ryan especially doesn't like to go to these in the summer because around
They're
here
brutal.
It's really hot with the humidity, and it is tough.
And you're trying to you're there, and it's out in the open. It's basically in kind of a football field, and you're just you have to prepare. It's almost like preparing for an auction. You're you must wear a sun hat. You must have sunglasses. You must have a bottle of water. You must have eaten beforehand, or else you're just dead.
True.
I
think also you really have to, or for me, one reason why I enjoy it is I enjoy talking to people.
Yeah.
So I think if you're not really into like talking to people, it can become kind of a grind because it's just endless a walking by people.
Right.
And I think sometimes if you're not so interested in like, like. I'm
like basically all business. I'm like, nah, I will talk to people. I mean, I will be like, hey, this thing's cool, you know, like, and I mostly will like to talk to the ladies, you know, I do like to talk to them and just, but I am, you know, like we said, it's you're out in the environment and I'm kind of like, all right, this is business. Like, I'm not just like chit chat, you know.
And I actually carry, or both of us carry, when we go, those blue IKEA bags.
Yes, that's
which
essential.
Is essential because, you know, when I was first going, we would just go, and sometimes people, you know, will have like a Walmart little plastic bag.
But a lot of people don't have bags. A lot of
people don't. And so I'd be like halfway through this flea market, half a mile from our car with like armloads of stuff, and I'm like, oh, I got to walk all the way back.
You know what? You could even bring, if you were like super nerd, you could bring like a little granny cart. Well, that's what we call them, like the little grocery cart. Which would be ideal.
Absolutely.
You know?
But I find just like that blue IKEA bag is great.
It gets heavy for me, so I'm like, here, hold my IKEA bag. Right. I have the best junker story, though, that I always remember.
Really?
This guy sold me this thing for $1. Uh-huh. You remember what it was? It was a little, like, piece of carved tiger oak wood, probably from the late 1800s, early 1900s. It was a lion head with wings on it. Right. Basically, it looked like it was either from a wood frame or a mantelpiece that had been taken off. I bought it for $1. I sold it for $100. That's the stuff you can find on these junkers tables. It's dusty. It looks old. It probably had a little bit of a chip on it.
Right.
And I was like, this is really cool. I could sell this for $100. And I'm like, I wonder how much he wants. Because some dudes are like $25, the antiquers, and you're like, oy.
But it was
$1.
It was in a pile. Yeah.
Sold it for $100.
Yeah. And you know, we talked about this before. If we're super prepared, we go to our bank before and we get like $100 out in $1 bills. They'll give you 2 stacks of $50 $1 bills.
We each grab a stack
because you know it's hard to like pull out a 20 unless you're buying something for like $10 or something.
The other thing too is you have to remember is a lot of people, like, especially first thing in the morning, they don't have change.
Yeah.
They're not like prepared. Well, they're just like, I don't have any money.
And the obvious thing is, if I'm trying to buy something for $1, but I pull out a 20, it's just...
They're like, but you did have it. You know? And coins are great, too, because there are a lot of times where people are like, it's 50 cents. Yep. You're like, great, here's 2 quarters, let's go.
Yeah.
So always be prepared like that.
Now, when I'm at the flea market, I'm obviously buying the stuff that I know is going to sell well. Some of it's just bread and butter stuff. Shoes.
Leather boots.
Yeah.
You got a leather jacket yesterday.
Clothes. I mean, just things that are just kind of like normal stuff that we find at thrift stores. I'm just finding it at this flea market. But again, I try and look for things that are new. I mean, things like...
New to you.
Yeah, right.
Unique, not new in the package.
Correct, yeah. I mean, things that I've never seen before, things I've never had an opportunity to actually buy. So yesterday, I bought... For some reason, people were selling shoes, and they were selling them cheap.
Yeah.
And so I was buying a lot of nice shoes. But I also found like a guy who sold pipes, you know, like smoking pipes.
We've talked about pipes before.
I never have a chance to buy them because I don't see them in thrift stores. If they're in auctions, they're often like at the front of the auction where they get sold for high. I don't know anything about pipes, but he wanted $5 for 4 pipes in various conditions.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, yeah, why not?
Just try it.
Yeah. So flea markets are great because I can normally do, you know, experiments for under $10.
It's a cheap experiment. Yeah.
I know I'll make money.
It's not like an auction where...
Right.
I mean, like, we bought stuff at auctions where I'm like, dude, we just paid $50 for that thing. Like, I hope it's worth that much. You know, it's a more expensive experiment. Yeah. You'll make your money back, but, you know, how much profit are you making sometimes?
I love flea markets. I had a great time. I wish they served better food. A lot of times it's just like funnel cake and like...
which is obviously delicious. Yeah. But, you know, you don't really want to be like eating that for breakfast.
So I actually take my own sandwich or snacks,
I always try to eat before, because if I'm like, oh, I'm hungry, oh, forget it, you know.
Right. And I've never been to them, but I know people will tell us about the ones they always tell us about the like flea markets that happen once a year. Like there's one up in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's called Brimfield. But the thing about Brimfield in Massachusetts is I think you could find some junkers there, but it's mostly antique dealers. It's an antique show.
People who are, you know, these dealers are looking for stuff at auctions, or they're buying off of Craigslist, or they're going to other flea markets. Right. And then they gather it all, and then once a year, that's where they go.
But the buyers are there. The high-end New York, Vermont, Massachusetts buyers who want the mid-century, want the whatever for their New York lofts, they go to Brimfields. Right. So, and designers go to Brimfields because they're buying for clients. Like, I don't think it's like us shopping there.
They're getting stuff cheap as compared to what they would buy in a showroom in New York. But
or it's the showroom guys going to Brimfield and putting it in their showroom.
But it's not the kind of deals that we get. So, and when I talk to guys online who live in England, or in Great Britain, it's United Kingdom, I don't know what.
It depends on where they live, but England, England is the UK.
They talk about these car boot sales, and I'll see photos or videos of them. And
it looks like
it's
a
the exact same.
It's the same thing. It's just exactly.
Yeah, that was.
I'm glad you had fun.
That was an exciting thing.
I was a little jealous.
And one of my scavenge of the week, which I'll talk about, came from this flea market.
Yay!
Okay, let's talk about eBay real quick. Our week.
Yeah.
People on the forum were starting to complain about the summer slowdown that
it's happening.
And you know. So it's April 15th. I mean, you know, Christmas was 3.5 months ago. Like, you know, it's what it is. I mean, it doesn't make sense because taxes in America are due on Tuesday. And so in 2 days. So people are probably, the people that haven't done their taxes are freaking out.
Right. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. And the people that have already done their taxes have probably gotten their money back already and have spent it. So that's just where it's around. But, you know, there's really, I feel like the regulars on the forum that have been around for a while have been through this process for a couple of seasons. I hope that we all know, like, there's really no way around it. It just gets slower during the summertime. I mean, it's just the retail cycle. Just summertimes for every store, for Walmart, for any
Amazon,
retailer.
Everybody.
It's always slow during the summertime because that's just the way it is. And, I mean, I'm not saying don't try experiments, but just, I don't know, don't think it's confusing or don't be surprised by it. Yeah. And if it's your first time selling on eBay and this is going to be your first...
summer.
It's summertime. It's just the way it is. Like, you're not doing anything wrong if your sales are lower in the summer than they are at Christmas time. It's not a big deal.
I remember one of our first podcasts with Mikey and Wendy was slow summer sales. It was like, 4 years ago. It's like, It's still the same.
And we always stress this, is one strategy we have is we make sure our monthly expenses are always equal to our slowest months.
Right.
So we know approximately how much we're going to make during like June, July, and August.
Yeah.
We make sure our expenses match that income. So that way...
we're always covered.
We're okay.
Yeah.
So that way, in the Christmas time when things are going great, we're making all this extra cash. And we can either save that money, pay down debt, it's whatever we want to do. Yeah. I think the people that get stressed and they don't overtly say this, but I'm feeling it, is that their monthly expenses are high enough to where they need Christmas sales all the time. So when summer sales come and they're making such small amounts of it's money, they're freaking out because they can't pay their bills. Yep. So that's more of a strategy thing.
Right.
The other thing is this is why we always stress having a large inventory.
Yeah.
I think this is when our large inventory comes into play in the summertime, is it kind of helps keep our sales low, but not super low, because we have so much.
We have so much stuff.
People that have really tiny stores, unless, and I mean small, like under 300 items, I think in Christmas time, you can sell enough with 300 items to make good cash. In the summertime, I think it gets tough.
Yeah, yeah. It gets real slow.
Especially if you're not selling anything really special. You know, you're just selling what everyone else is doing.
I mean, it's slow for the big sellers. It's really slow for the smaller sellers. Like, we'll hear stories, people go a week without selling anything.
And this brings up something else we've talked about in the past, is that when the summer comes, we've always talked about sometimes there's life outside of scavenging and selling online.
Right.
I mean, obviously, if you're really depending on this to pay bills, blah, 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 I get it. It's a job, so treat it as like a job, so you got to figure it out. But, if this is either a part-time gig for you or eBay can kind of go on autopilot, I mean, it's important to have a life outside of this.
Yeah.
So maybe in the summertime is when you start doing some traveling.
Right.
Or doing a project that you've wanted to be doing, like at your garden or something.
Right. Or taking little, like, trips.
Yeah. Like, we have to really enjoy its process and know when to kind of, if eBay is not going to be this huge engine during this summertime, we have to be willing to, like, put our energy towards something else instead of just being angry and suspicious of, like, eBay killing our store or whatever.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to put it.
A reading, watching movies, hiking, visiting family,
working on other projects,
helping people,
that's
thinking.
This list, thinking.
I don't know about you. Don't you like just to have time just to kind of think about what you're doing and not being like in some kind of cycle where you're
just work. Yeah. Oh no. Like I think it's great to be able to have time to just. Like
contemplate.
Contemplate in creative processes.
Reflect.
Okay, alrighty.
Okay. Something else on eBay. We were talking on the forum, people are educating us about the scan sheet.
Yeah, the USPS scan sheet.
Right. So if your postal carrier is not scanning all the packages properly, you can print out a scan sheet. So they just do one barcode and that marks everything.
Yeah.
But the thing is, on eBay, you have to actually do it all at one time. And for us, we've talked about that's difficult because we have all different size boxes and weights and...
Yeah, like the bulk shipper, I've looked at it before. If you had, we sell that nail polish occasionally, a couple every week. Say I was selling like
only
all day long, and I'm like, I know it's 5 ounces. The end. It's all the same color. Like I'll print out 50.
Only to people in America.
Right. Like it's just like that's great for the bulk shipper, but I'm shipping a blanket and a piece of artwork and a bit. So the amount of time I have to go in and like choose the thing and it should all be set, but sometimes it's like, okay, well, this is actually a little bigger than I said, and it's 2 pounds lighter. I might as well just print them individually.
Right.
So with the bulk label thing, you can just be like, give me a scan sheet of everything I just did, and it has one barcode. That's awesome, but for us, I'm just like, it doesn't work.
So the reason we've talked about this before, so the reason why I'm bringing it up again is because there might be a way to fix that, and that's if you use Fit Shipper.
Okay.
So we don't have anything to do with this. This is a service, fitshipper.com. It's run by a guy named Josh.
Yes.
He listens to this podcast.
Yep.
And he says he's created a system where a printing system where you can get really good deals.
Right.
Is like you do on eBay for
labels, yeah.
And he says that you can actually print like we do now one by one, but somehow you can print out a whole scan of what you just did.
So you can be like, everything I just did from 10 a.m. to X is on the scan sheet. Right. Even if you were able to just do like 2 scan sheets, like I printed this day and I printed, in the morning the next day and this stuff is going out. That's a lot better than like, here's 25 packages to scan. Right. So I have to check that out because...
Well, I mean... I was just thinking, why can't you just do it individually and then go in and be like, print me a scan sheet and just,
15 items.
Right.
Like I have to see if that's what it is, because that, for me, that's what I need. I need to be like, the last 20 items goes on this scan sheet. And then it's like, you can't do a scan sheet for them again, you know? So, yeah, I have to see that.
And our week was a little bit slower, so I did feel the slowdown of sales that other people were talking about. But we still did pretty good, and we'll talk about our numbers in a bit. So our scavenge of the week?
Yes.
Since Ryan was doing more renovation stuff, I'll talk about it. I talked about at the flea markets, I was buying a lot of shoes.
Shoes, yeah.
And it's great. I was finding the junkers, people that had, for some reason, had a lot of shoes. Oftentimes, people are just using the flea market as a way to do a yard sale.
Yeah.
They've just bringing all their own stuff. They're cleaning out their closets. One girl had like 50 pairs of shoes.
It was her shoes and someone else's shoes, right?
It was like the family's shoes, I guess, because there were like kids' shoes and men's shoes. And anyway, I was like, how much are the shoes?
Yeah.
She's like, they're $2 each. I mean, I'm like, that's crazy. Some of it isn't worth $2, but like this pair, a pair of Red Wing boots, is definitely worth it. Made in the USA, they're it's logger boots,
lineman boots,
and I bet we'll sell it for at least $150.
I mean, it's funny because
great deal.
Like Red Wings are great, but the ones made in China, whatever.
Yeah.
You want the ones made in the USA,
right? So that was my scavenge of the week. I was like, that's great. Thank you so much, lady.
They're great looking for $2.
Okay, and then some random things. We were talking about healthcare, and we always. I like to mention healthcare on this podcast because if you're like us and are working for it yourself, this is one of the most vital things to being independent.
Yeah.
Because in America, so often healthcare is tied to working for an employer.
Right.
And trying to buy healthcare on the independent market has been very difficult traditionally.
Right.
Because of people, health insurers could deny you for pre-existing conditions.
Yep.
The prices were all over the place. I found a good interview with a reporter that's been talking about healthcare for a long, long time. It's Terry Gross from
Fresh Air.
Fresh Air. She interviewed this as woman. It was a great conversation. I'm going to put a link up on the forum and go and hear it. Just because, this new Congress and president they're making some difficult decisions. There could be some changes, and it's good that we're all aware. We all want good health care. I think that's great, but let's get into the details because that's where the devil is.
The devil's in the details.
And also, people on the forum were like, why don't you, meaning me, contact eBay and ask them for an interview?
It's a great idea.
I was like, how do I...
You're like, what?
I'm like, how do I contact eBay other than just through like customer service? And so people were nice enough. They have a press page. It's like press at ebay.com.
I didn't even know that.
So I actually emailed press.ebay.com and I haven't heard back, but it was only been a week. I just said, gave them a link to our podcast and maybe they'll talk.
It would be cool.
To me. I also started a thread on its forum of if someone from eBay will talk to me, what do you want me to ask? So I will link to that on this podcast and people can go and give me its questions. Hopefully they'll call me,
Yeah. They're a behemoth, so it might take them a while to get back to us.
And, hopefully they'll be willing to talk about things in as great of detail. Because, people hearing this a lot, some people are new, but some people have been around for a while. The questions they have and I have are pretty detailed. Like, let's get into, like, the
nitty gritty. Yeah.
Okay. This week, we sold 60 items, which is still a good week for us.
Yeah.
In the summertime, we're often selling like 30, sometimes 25. So we're still doing great. We made a total of $1,700.
60 items?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So not a bad week. Yeah. It was our first week where we made under $2,000 since
the last few
Christmas time. So that's good. And then in our second store, we sold 16 items for $600.
Dude, that's great. That's not bad.
Our second store has been doing well because we've been actually putting items up.
We've been listing on there, yeah.
And someone asked me again why we're listing more in our second store since we've gone over the 1,000 free listings per month. And the answer is really, I know it's inefficient. I get that. But I just think we just like having a second store. It just,
I know. Like at this point, I'm like, I don't have a good answer.
Fees to a list are really
so minimal,
minor compared to the kind of money where it's making. And maybe, we'll up the subscription and we'll just have 2 flagship stores, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes, like, I get it. I like to be frugal too, but sometimes I can't be pinching pennies and losing as money.
I mean, those are just the business expenses, you know? That's just what it is.
Things we sold. One thing I wish we had sold, but was a fake sale, was that crazy painting we talked about in the podcast maybe a month ago.
Of the guy with the mullet painted on a cabinet door.
Right. And Ryan, you know, we talked about it, and so I guess a lot of people who listen to this follow our store, and all these, it's watchers on it. I know it wasn't normal people. It was people waiting for it to sell. We had it up for $500, and it sold.
We were in absolute shock.
We were eating a lunch together. We were like, I cannot believe it. But I said, yeah, I really can't believe it.
This is not a real
It's not
sale.
real.
Because honestly, someone would send us an offer before they would buy it out.
And so we immediately got a message from a very apologetic person who listened to our podcast and said, somehow she accidentally bought it, and so would we please cancel it? Of course we did.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. So that's too bad.
I'm like, are you kidding? You don't want this painting? It's amazing.
You just lost out on the best piece of art.
painting I've ever found. So yeah, so it's relisted. I mean, it's there.
So let's talk about a couple of real sales we sold, which is amazing to me.
This is amazing.
This is all you.
This is me.
This
okay.
is all you.
So we found a bunch of vintage luggage labels, like from the 30s and 40s.
I didn't even know these things exist.
So what these things are is when you used to have a trunk or a beautiful suitcase.
Steamer trunk.
Right. When you traveled with that. When you would go to the hotel, you would get like a little label that said the hotel. It's like a souvenir. I'm sure there was another purpose for them. Someone can correct me. But I had this beautiful one from Paris. Total Art Deco, totally from the 30s. I actually had two of them, so I just sold one. And I sold it. I put it up for $200. I got a best offer of $175. Wow. I was like, yes.
For just like a little tiny label.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So that was a great sale. I mean, anytime you can, and we bought a lot of them. A lot. It was like a bag full of just different places, a couple in Paris, all throughout Europe. So I've been pricing them pretty high just because they're beautiful.
Ephemera.
It's ephemera, yeah.
We sold a motorcycle jacket for $90.
Yes. And you lowered the price on that.
I really wanted to sell it. And this is one of the items we got from
the rich people on Craigslist.
The rich kids on Craigslist, where we bought some furniture from them, but then they gave us a bunch of stuff. And so we've already made back all the money we gave them for the furniture we bought.
From the stuff they just gave us.
Plus we've made more.
Yeah.
It's money. So it was a great scavenger.
That was the best
exchange.
I swear to God, that was the best Craigslist experience I ever had.
We sold a pair of bookends that were like brass, that were owls
with glass eyes. They were huge,
and we sold them for $160.
They're beautiful.
Great sale.
Yeah.
And then out of those 60 items we sold 11 pairs of shoes. So that was kind of just one of our bread and butter items. Just, I think in the springtime, people are changing their footwear.
Yeah, they're buying sandals. They're buying new shoes.
Yeah.
They're having a yard sale, giving their shoes away, buying new ones.
Right.
I definitely noticed that too.
Okay, customer issues. Several returns
for fit. A lot of them were clothing.
Yeah.
The more clothing you sell, the more returns you're going to get for this shirt didn't fit. It's just inevitable.
And that they pay for its shipping, it's all good. Although Ryan's really good at, like, once they start the its return on the hassle free, they have 5 days to actually enter a tracking.
If they don't, number. I end it.
And then Ryan knows to call and end it. I don't think there's a way to end it other than calling, right?
You got to call.
Yeah. So.
I call the very morning. Right. Yes, I get it closed. So I do want to mention this. The shirt guy from the other day is still contacting us.
Yeah.
Still. 2 weeks. 2 weeks in.
He's the guy, and we had a T-shirt up for $16. He just refused. He just did not want to pay $16 plus whatever, $3 to ship it. He was like, I will only pay $15 with shipped. Free, $15 shipped. And we just basically blocked him because he was not being nice.
And we stopped messaging him.
But he now emails us every couple days just to remind us that it hasn't sold yet. And his strategy is like, we're going to get so hungry because it hasn't sold and freaking out that we're going to like give it to him at any price. And he just doesn't understand we're not those kind of sellers. You know?
It's so funny because I'm like, we don't message him back. We ignored him. We blocked him. It's just like hilarious at this point. But I'm like, dude, we have 5,000 items. I'm not worried about this t-shirt.
Right.
Like stuff selling every day.
Right.
That's our method. It's like people don't get it. They're like, don't you just want to get this out of your closet? You're like, yes, it will eventually sell.
But it's already at a good price.
So crazy.
It's one of those things. It's nice to know that we have the power in the...
we do.
In our store. Okay, our coming week. So we are actually leaving next Saturday.
For a 2.5 week trip.
To go. We have every spring and fall, we have these video jobs where we still do a bit of work in our career jobs.
Our technical jobs.
The jobs that I guess we were professionally trained for, in which we enjoy these clients. It couldn't be better.
You couldn't ask for a better client.
So we'll be going to Baltimore. We're going to visit my sister in Chicago.
And she has 2 cute little boys.
And then we do another job in Bellingham,
Washington.
Oh, Washington.
And then we hop back home.
Right.
It's a cool trip. I think it's a good trip because we have a little bit of downtime in between that we get to visit family. And I've never been to Chicago, so I'm super excited.
Yeah, I know there are some scavengers in Chicago. We'll actually be there for 5 nights, I think.
4 nights, maybe.
So
it's a quick trip.
Yeah.
And I am going to be exhausted. So I don't know if
I don't know what part of Chicago she's in.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, we'll find out. Anyway, so that means that this coming week is always a little bit mildly stressful. I think we're getting better at it because we're trying to kind of wind things down in eBay so we can get ready to leave.
Yeah.
And when I just mean wind things down, I mean like kind of get stuff organized, kind of list everything that we want to get up, and then kind of, just get the store ready to go on autopilot because like people who have heard us before, we change our handling time
to reflect when we're gone.
So our store stays open the entire time. People who buy are just notified through eBay and through us that there will be delayed ship time.
And we say about 10% or less people cancel their transaction.
Yeah.
Say, I need this before you get back. But 90% of people are like,
yeah, because
cool, have a good trip.
Because for collectibles and the kind of weird stuff we sell, this isn't like I need toilet paper tomorrow.
Right. It's not Amazon. I mean, it's different. Or they're like, I got a good deal. I can wait a couple weeks. Yep. We've had people wait up to
6 weeks.
6. I swear to God. Swear to God.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true. And this time it'll be a little bit different too because this is the first time we've ever had a helper. So we're also trying to kind of figure out the sweet spot of what she can do while we're gone.
Because we told her, we want you to do work while we're gone.
Right.
I would like to give her hours because I honestly feel it's not fair to be like, we're gone for 2 weeks, no work, bye.
Right.
I'm like, I have plenty of work to do, so we're going to set you up.
So we're going to create like a little pipeline of stuff that she can photograph and a list while we're gone.
Yeah.
And we trust her. We like her.
Yeah.
And
she'll feed the cats.
Yep. And she feeds the cats. So it's a good thing. Okay. Let's answer questions of things that people have called in about.
You can always call our voicemail line. Again, you have 3 minutes. 3 minutes. If you go over 3 minutes, you will get cut off.
And that's only because that's what Google does.
Voice cuts you off at 3 minutes. You can always call back, but just be aware of that. The phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hey guys, this is Derek. Thought I'd call in with an interesting one for you. I had sold an item recently. It was a pretty expensive item for me. It was $400, and the item was returned to me a couple weeks later, marked that it was unable to be delivered because the buyer had died. Yeah. So in case you were ever wondering, hey, what do I do in case a buyer's passed away? You process it like I called up eBay. They said, hey, go ahead and process it like a normal refund. And a cancellation order, as tempting as it was, thinking, hey, nobody else needs that cash either. No, that's not right. Anyways, regardless, I just thought it was an interesting thing that I hadn't heard come up before. So, buyer passes away, you get it back. You just process it like a normal refund, and hopefully somebody claims it on their end. All right. I hope all is going well with you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
So that is definitely a first. I have never heard of that, though I've suspected that it has happened before, that we've sent things to people who are now deceased.
I mean, I've told this story before. It's one of it's grandma's.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, the couple months before she died, she was still at home, and she would watch
QVC,
the home
right?
shopping is network.
Yeah.
And she was just buying stuff on QVC.
Yep.
And we only really, I know that because after she died, and, you know, it's my dad goes down there to, like, take care of the estate. I mean,
yeah,
she didn't really have an estate, but just
right.
her stuff. He was just getting in the mail, just like all this junk.
like it was just, you know, coming in the mail.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So yeah, you process the refund and you resell it.
Yep.
Hey guys, this is Matt in Texas, and I've got a little complaint about Craigslist in general. They recently stopped allowing third-party apps to access their site. So apps like Craigslist Pro for Android can't offer us a service to view our items. For example, I have saved searches based on distance and for different categories and all kinds of items I'm looking for, where I can just run through my saved searches and look up the items. Well, with Craigslist's recent change, you can't do that. You can't use any apps anymore. So you're left having to browse with your mobile browser, which is really pretty hideous. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but if you try going to Craigslist with a phone, it's pretty bad. And there's really no good way to find items based on distance. And the gallery, there's really no way to view many items at once on the small screen. I've been trying to get on the Craigslist forum and express I guess I'm just not happy. Let's just say that. And I'm hoping that Craigslist is soon going to release their own mobile app. That's all I can imagine, because this is going to hurt them hugely. I'm already finding myself going to Facebook Marketplace, and I even installed OfferUp last night because it's just really that bad. So I'm just wondering if any other listeners have had that same experience recently with these changes and what they're doing, and I appreciate y'all's show. Thanks.
So we love Craigslist. Yes. I think it's a great community. I think it's a great, it's where people go and put stuff up. But I agree, Craigslist has traditionally, as a company, always been very, I don't know why, combative, hesitant, like not wanting to update their site or change new technology. And it is only because of these third-party apps that Craigslist has been usable in the way that people
like on your phone.
Right.
And I honestly, whenever I have to upload something on Craigslist or search Craigslist on the go, I just am in my browser on the phone. Right. Yeah, and it's not great.
And and they almost seem proud of the fact that they haven't really changed their site since they began a long time ago.
Which is okay.
It's what it is. What I use is ifttt.com.
Which stands for if this, then that.
Yeah, and that way, it doesn't really help me to browse online so well, but it will email me if something comes up in the search that I want.
Like heartwood pine flooring.
Right, so that's how, I was like lying in bed and I get this alert that says some guy just posted this thing about hardwood pine. I click on it and it's like this guy's selling hardwood pine dirt cheap. I'm probably the first one that contacts him,
So basically the idea of the website is, here's how it works. If someone posts on Craigslist with this phrase, email me. Right. Or you can have it text you. Right. Or you can have it whatever.
Right. And I can put its price range, so under 600.
It's
anyway, I mean, a lot of people know about it, but I do agree. I wish that there was just like an app on my phone so I could just always have like Heartwood Pine and I could just be flipping through the photos of it. It's so silly. But as other people have pointed out, Craigslist needs to be careful because there are other sites that are starting to chip away.
That are better.
at, maybe they specialize in certain things, so their market is going to get smaller and smaller if they don't upgrade.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. My name is Rhonda. I am selling and been following you for a long time. I really appreciate everything that you guys have done. As most of the other callers have said, it's just a wealth of information that you've given to us, and we just all appreciate it so much. But I am calling today. I just wanted to let you know of something that happened to me recently. I've been selling on eBay more seriously for the last year and a half, and I have only about 1,000 items in my store. I have had one item removed about a couple months ago. It was a Coach purse that completely looked authentic. I was unaware, obviously, that it apparently wasn't. It had a number inside it and everything. So that was removed, and I could not sell or list anything I could sell it, but I couldn't list it for 7 days. And then, so I was, forced to not have any new listings. And now, recently, I've just had another item that was taken down. It was a New Era Red Bull hat that I found at a store, and, paid quite a bit for it because it obviously looked valuable, and I listed it, and it was taken down, and now I have been suspended from creating new listings for 30 days. So I just was curious if this has happened ever to you guys, and how you guys are careful going forward that you don't make any of these kinds of errors, because obviously 30 days not being able to list anything is pretty devastating. Anyway, I just appreciate all you guys do, and thank you, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Number one, thank you. Number two, having 1,000 items in a store is not a small store. That's a real business, so yes. Be proud of yourself. Number three, yes, we have heard these exact complaints about the exact same kind of items.
Yes, Red Bull.
So number one, I like to count here. Selling high-end clothing, designer, like Coach, Gucci, that's like painting a red flag on it yourself, because those kind of companies really seem to troll the internet to take these things down, even if it's real. And it was yours, and you have the right to sell it. But the problem is it's always your word against theirs, so you have to then fight these claims. And what it normally comes is a Vero claim. Right, V-E-R-O. Which is a trademark. And if you don't know it's what this is, Google it and learn about it. So the way we avoid it is we just don't really buy and sell that stuff. I just try not to. I mean, I have a true vintage Coach bag. I've never had a problem with that. Right. And then number two is the Red Bull. We've heard from other people that for some reason that company is really aggressive about taking down anything, whether it be fake or not. So they don't want anyone to sell their stuff. Period. The other thing I've heard of, there's another company that's very aggressive, and that is anything that says it's Velcro. Velcro is If you put Velcro in your title, you'll most likely get a takedown as well, because Velcro is not just like it's a brand name. It's a brand name, and they have to protect their brand because even though everyone on Earth calls it, it's Velcro. Like it's Kleenex or a Xerox. Right. It starts to become such a common word. We think it's just like a generic word, but that's why they have to protect it. So, I mean, the thing is just you got to be careful about that stuff, and some of it's just you're kind of learning the hard way.
Hello, guys. This is Carolyn, the lady from Florida who had the issue with FedEx. Well, everybody bounced it back and forth between the FedEx 1-800 number and the local office that I went into. And I just spoke back with the manager today for my last time Basically, he is refusing to take any responsibility. Where I made my mistake was I didn't write down the measurements on a piece of paper or anything, so I only inputted them into my label and, sent it to them. So I have no proof of the exact measurements that they gave me. But if I ever choose to go back to FedEx again, which I'm so angry, I don't know that I will, but if I do, I will take a video of them measuring my box and doing everything they do so that I have proof. And I just can't believe, me being a good customer to them, he even acknowledged that I've been in several times with packages and stuff like that, but he's refusing to take any responsibilities whatsoever. And that was the gist of it. So beware, and I'm going to put it on eBay, on Facebook and everywhere. Beware going to FedEx. All right, guys, have a good day. Bye. Hi, guys. This is Carolyn. One final time, the lady from Florida. Per a suggestion by a cousin who works in the post office to call, she suggested that I call FedEx corporate. And when I did find out the measurements that we input in the system. But what happens is if a package is over, I believe it was 107, they consider that an oversized item. So it immediately is considered to weigh 71 pounds. So that's a very valuable note to note with FedEx. But anyway, I also called eBay back because my concern was eBay has the shipping relationship with FedEx, so much so that FedEx really didn't want to talk to me because they said that the label was purchased through eBay. I finally got an eBay manager who basically said, I'm sorry, but there's nothing we can do because if FedEx will refund it, we'll give it back to you. But like I explained to him, I don't see this any longer being FedEx's issue. It's eBay's issues. If you are doing business with a company, you should certainly know their shipping practices. So eBay should have had something included in their site that says, hey, if your item is over this amount, it will be considered extra large and this is what could happen. But basically the manager backed out of it by saying, this is something we will consider in the future. In the meantime, you're taking money out of my bank account while you're considering in the future. So I ripped him up one side and down the other, and I told him I was going to tell everybody that I could possibly think of, be careful what labels you buy through eBay connected to FedEx. Thank you again so much for everything, and I hope this helps somebody to keep their money in their pocket. Have a great day. Bye.
Okay, that is it for the podcast this week. You can check out the blog for the links we discussed and to join the conversation on the forums. You can leave a question or a comment on something you heard on the voicemail line. The number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video by Stephen Schultz that shows you what got sold and how much he sold it for. Plus, there's always a little clip of his dogs that is super cute. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or through YouTube so you always get the latest episode. You can listen to our other podcast. We just posted an update on Shampoo and Booze, and that is at shampooandbooze.com. And if you're interested in renting our vacation farmhouse, you can. The link is on shampooandbooze.com. We are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1.
Bye.